The nuclear war of Drake versus Kendrick dominated hip hop last year. There weren't too many things that happened in rap that were of note that were talked about that didn't somehow end up relating back to Drake versus Kendrick. The beef was everywhere, one of the most talked about things in the world, headline news that you just couldn't avoid, including you, Lil Wayne, Mr. I didn't know the context and Not Like Us. I didn't even know that was Kendrick Lamar. Okay, bruh, but the beef was everywhere. The hype was real. The songs were going nuclear, and it even took over the Super Bowl. Yet, when something this big and groundbreaking happens inside the culture, there are ramifications that are felt for a very long time. And that's where we exist today. Old heads still to this day rave about the days of Tupac versus Biggie or Nas versus Jay-Z. What we're currently living through is a nuclear winter in rap. Now, most of you should understand what I'm trying to say there, but some of you might be a little younger, so let me learn you something real quick. When nuclear bombs go off, the effects are felt for decades in that land. It makes the land inhabitable. The land becomes barren and super radioactive, essentially restarting the entire ecosystem there from zero, pretty much killing everything. That's what happened with a beef this big. People are sick and tired of hearing about Drake and Kendrick. Oh my God, it's April of 2025 and you're still talking about Drake and Kendrick, but that's just what happens when a beef is this big. The effects are felt for years and the conversation continues long after people think it should end. It completely takes over the news cycle and never truly goes away. This beef is a timeline stamp in rap. There is now before the beef and after the beef. Everything that was happening before the beef just really doesn't matter anymore today. I've spoken in the past about the dying interest for the trap, rap caviar genre of music that's taken over rap for the last 10 years or so. You know, the Lil Durk, Lil Baby, 21 Savage, that type of stuff. That was already happening before the beef, but after the beef, it was accelerated by 20. People saw Lil Baby drop an album at the start of this year, and they looked at it and they just kind of went, and went back to talking about Kendrick and Drake. This beef, in a sense, cut a lot of the BS that was gaining traction in the rap landscape at the time, but right now it feels like we're kind of stuck in a cycle. Like somebody comes, drops something, people go, yeah, it was cool. That was all right, cool, yeah, that was decent. And then it's back to talking about Drake and Kendrick. Like Lil Baby came, dropped his album, okay, it's all right, 6 out of 10, not bad, not terrible, But do you really think Not Like Us was botted? Oh my gosh, Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez just dropped an album from behind bars. That's crazy. Wow, man. Okay, not bad. Ooh, okay. Oh, we're not listening to him anymore. He's canceled by Meg. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine too. Whatever. Cool. But do you think it's okay to sue during a rap beef? Oh my gosh, Lil Durk. Lil Durk just dropped. Wow, Durk from the feds. Man, this dude's probably facing life, man. This might be one of the last albums we ever hear from Durk. Man, that's crazy. Oh man, it's not bad. Oh, about 60K first week. Oh, that's pretty good. Do you think Kendrick made the Luther video black and white to go at and kind of combat Nokia and Drake's video being in black and white? One of the only things that has really stuck in hip hop over the last year or so was Playboi Carti's album Music. The album went #1 for 3 weeks. It had 31 entries into the Hot 100, 300K first week. The album was huge and it still has some staying power now over a month later. This is one of the only things that has happened since the start of the beef that's had its own moment and movement. One of the other things that has caught fire in the aftermath of the beef is just kind of Doechii in general, obviously specifically the Anxiety song really being everywhere and being huge, but Doechii also winning a Grammy while being propped up as the next big thing. Doechii and that song have been everywhere so much that people have started to accuse her of being an industry plant. Carti and Doechii seem to be the only people in this post-modern Drake and Kendrick beef landscape that have staying power. Now, obviously, I'm speaking on the people that have dropped since then. I'm not speaking on Nicki Minaj or J. Cole who hasn't dropped. Of the people that are currently active and really trying to get it out here, they're the only ones with real staying power. But even still, what are people talking about today? Why is Kendrick Lamar still performing these diss tracks? Oh my gosh. Why is Kendrick dragging it? Can he even exist without Drake? Why is Kendrick acting like he's in a deposition? Drake's not suing him. Everything still revolves around Drake and Kendrick. All roads still lead back to Drake and Kendrick. Even when Carti's album first came out and it was the nuclear hot thing, the only thing people were talking about in rap, bigger than Drake and Kendrick at the moment, hotter than everyone else, still a major part of the conversation was, well, why is Kendrick on this album? He doesn't fit on this album. Oh my gosh, Kendrick has so many features on Cardi's album. Why is he here? Oh my gosh. Kendrick's trying to steal the spotlight from the new wave. He's trying to steal from the young guys. Like, that was still a major part of that conversation. Kendrick and Drake reset the market, and more than anything, it feels like people are kind of scared to drop right now. Like, there were already rumors that people were kind of fearful of dropping because they didn't want to flop, because everyone's numbers seem to be kind of coming down at a certain point. Then on top of that, you add the biggest beef of all time. Everyone collectively ran inside. They're all just standing there at their blinds, peeking through, seeing if it's safe or not to drop now. But the thing is, I don't know if it's ever going to be safe to drop at this point. Kendrick Lamar just started his stadium tour, and Luther is still the #1 song in America, and Drake's Nokia is not too far behind, sitting at #3 right now, looking like it's probably going to be one of the biggest songs of the summer of 2025. And also, by the way, yeah, Somebody Loves Me is in the rearview mirror waving at you as it slowly approaches you and probably ends up being one of the bigger songs of the summer as well. If you're not connected to this beef in some way, it's looking scary for these guys' numbers. Tyler, the Creator, had success in his album Chromacopia, but that's because Tyler's an anomaly at this point. Like, he's going to do what he does. Future's done well with his projects, but he's also tied into the beef. We saw Uzi's numbers on his last project. Even Kanye West dropped once or twice since the beef, and he was looked at as a side plot in the grand scheme of things, as he was taking shots at both Kendrick and Drake with the hopes of garnering some attention. It seems as if the only stuff that is not only able to gain notoriety, but also able to have some staying power as well, is stuff with real substance and real authentic support behind it. Now, I know it sounds crazy for me to say Cardi is real substance to some of you out there. I know you might still be on that, this is mumble rap garbage from 2016 stuff, but you got to get out of the past. I'm not saying that you have to like Cardi's music, but you have to at least acknowledge it and acknowledge that it's here. It's massive, and it has real, genuine, authentic support. One of the only movements right now that is really, really big with pretty much 100% authentic support. Look at Ken Carson. He just did 55K first week. Like, you just have to acknowledge that. There's no more running from it. The discussions between Drake and Kendrick are not even close to done yet. Like, listen, I know, sorry to spoil it for some of you guys who are hoping that all this stuff would be wrapped up by now, but it's nowhere near done yet. The comparisons aren't done. Now, maybe the beef as a whole is done in terms of like diss tracks back and forth. I don't really see any of that happening in the near future, but the numbers comparisons aren't done. The music comparisons aren't done. Who dropped the better album? Whose single is better? Whose support is actually authentic? Who sold out what? Who did what in terms of venues? Like, that stuff isn't done. People aren't done picking sides, fans and artists included. Right now, we're living in the shadows of the beef, and we don't really know what's going to come as a result of it. New artists are shuffling around and trying to find their place in hip-hop, kind of like a Big X the Plug, and other artists who have been at the forefront of rap over the last few years or so are trying to desperately hold on to their spot. I truly believe that in 10 years, we will look back on this beef as kind of like the restart. We'll look back on it as a start of a new era in hip hop, the beef kind of acting as like a great flood, to use a biblical term. We're not going from songs like Push-Ups and Euphoria back to 2023, Lil Baby. The fans just aren't doing that. I'm sorry. We're expecting something fresh and something with some substance. The industry and the labels will always have a hand in what's popping and what's not, but now more than ever, it does feel like that influence is a bit weaker than normal. I truly believe that 2, 3, 4 years ago, Forbats would have been a much bigger deal. Forbats, we remember him, right? Maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago, he had the cosigns from Drake. He had the cosigns from Kanye randomly. He gets a Drake feature randomly. And they were really trying to make Forbats a thing, but it just kind of went away. A few years ago, 5 years ago, that probably would have worked. But in this era, I truly believe that stuff like that will not be as successful as it used to be. People are complaining about a bit of a dead period in rap, and that's real. I get that. But Kendrick and Drake essentially killed the game, and they're still strangling it to this day. But the result of this will be something completely fresh and new, and something that we might have desperately needed for a very long time. But that's going to be the end of my video. If you made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know down below in the comments. Either way, if you made it this far, again, I appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. I hope you have a good day. Be safe, be blessed. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.